The future of Star Wars is Dave Filoni's to lose in many ways. You see, unlike Book of Boba Fett and The Mandalorian, the upcoming Ahsoka TV series is something that has most likely been in the planning for more than a decade. In Dave Filoni's mind, of course. Unlike other Lucasfilm creators like J.J. Abrams or Rian Johnson, who merely see Star Wars as another project for their resume, Filoni has fully embraced this galaxy far, far away, ever since George Lucas mentored him and created the Clone Wars TV series alongside him. For Dave Filoni, the character Ahsoka Tano represents a very long-term investment into the franchise. It turns out she wasn't just a throwaway character for an animated TV show. She's returned again and again in the lore from Rebels to The Mandalorian, guided by the consistent hand and writing of Filoni. And now, she's finally going to have a show that's focused solely on her story. And I can assure you, unlike other characters and storylines who have had to share different writers and creators, Ahsoka Tano is Filoni's favorite through and through, and so you can expect all of your previous investment into this character rewarded in this upcoming TV series. And so in preparation for that, today we're going to start taking a closer look at the earlier stages of Ahsoka Tano's life, from the time she was born up until the Battle of Ryloth. We'll see how this youngster does after being thrown headfirst into the crucible of war beneath the mentorship of the great Anakin Skywalker. Now guys, cold turkey might be great on sandwiches, but sometimes there's better ways to break habits. And no, we're not talking about Jedi mind tricks or Sith electroshock therapy, both of which are extremely unethical and sketchy. We're talking about today's sponsor, Fume. Not everything in a bad habit is wrong. Sometimes you just need to remove the bad out of the habit. Fume is an innovative award-nominated device that does just that. Instead of electronics, Fume is completely natural. Instead of vapor, Fume uses flavored air. And instead of harmful chemicals, Fume uses all natural, delicious flavors. Your Fume comes with an adjustable airflow dial and is designed with movable parts and magnets for fidgeting, giving your fingers a lot to do, which is helpful for de-stressing and anxiety while breaking your habits. Fume has served over 100,000 customers and has thousands of success stories. There's no reason why you can't be one of them. Join Fume in accelerating humanity's breakup from destructive habits by picking up the Journey Pack today. Head to tryfume.com/generationtech or scan the QR code and use code GenerationTech, all caps, to get 10% off when you get the Journey Pack today. Thank you for your patience. On to the rest of the video. In 36 BBY, Ahsoka Tano was born on the planet of Shili, an idyllic, almost Miyazaki-like wonderland. The small Togruta clan that she came from lives in harmony with nature. The men and women work alongside each other to play an honest and simple life. The Republic and Coruscant seem so far away in this tiny little corner of the galaxy. There's no bureaucracy, no politicians, no war. In the place of governors and rulers, the Togruta simply have a community and a matriarch who serves as a spiritual guide for the people and a keeper of tradition and wisdom.
Simba.
While not all traditions are good, many are full of cultural wisdom passed down through the ages, a result of many generations of trial and error. Ahsoka's clan believed it was important to introduce their young to the beauty and danger of the forest.
Look, Ahsoka. Everywhere there is life. Value it. Honor it.
But for there to be balance, for the forest to be in harmony, there must also be death. Sometimes one needs to kill in order to survive or to save other lives. It's not a lesson that most young mothers would teach their newborn, especially mothers living in the comforts of the core world where safety and security are guaranteed. But it's an important lesson for someone like Ahsoka, especially if you consider what lies in store for her in the future. There are going to be a lot of these small lessons, by the way, all throughout this video, and hopefully I'll make it into a series that can cover the rest of Ahsoka's life. And so, keep an eye out for these things when you watch the new Ahsoka TV series. Force sensitives were taken at a very young age by the Jedi, and Ahsoka was no different. The Jedi do this because they wanted a blank slate that they could fill with their own ideology and beliefs. But sometimes younglings come with a lot of ideology pre-installed already into their heads. Or in Anakin's case, a lot of baggage. The lesson that Ahsoka learns here about balance will eventually help her understand the shortcomings of the Jedi and their own imbalance and infatuation with the light side of the Force.
You must face death, Ahsoka. Do not fear it.
The Jedi pushed their fear of the dark side on all of their members and ignored the natural struggle between life and death, which ultimately would lead to their defeat. Later on in the Clone Wars, when the Jedi would banish Ahsoka from the Order after falsely accusing her of bombing the Jedi Temple, I think it's lessons like this taught by her mom that gives Ahsoka a foundation outside of the Jedi Order, something that she can ground herself to so that she's not completely lost without the Jedi. Now, after Ahsoka's mother begins preparing the game that she shot for transport, a giant feline monster sneaks up behind the Tigritos and snatches Ahsoka away. Now, Ahsoka's story would have ended there had she been anyone else, but she is a fearless individual, even back then. And this is important because when a predator smells fear, things can get quite nasty as instincts kick in. Instead, Ahsoka is curious. She thinks, what is this creature? Look at its beautiful fur. Let me touch its face. And just like that, she makes a Force connection with the fearsome beast and rides it all the way back home to her village. Fear closes doors and courage sets you free. What an epic beginning for an epic character. Now, during more peaceful times, Jedi Knights and Masters generally chose their own padawan after long periods of observation and trials. But since the Jedi were now busy fighting the Clone Wars and there were still younglings that needed to be mentored, the Jedi Council stepped in and began appointing padawans to Jedi in the field. Which probably is a good thing because I don't think Anakin Skywalker would have selected Ahsoka or any padawan otherwise.
What? No. There must be some mistake. He's the one who wanted the Padawan.
No, Master Yoda was very specific. I'm assigned to Anakin Skywalker, and he is to supervise my Jedi training.
Yoda recognized that Anakin was still quite immature, and while Obi-Wan Kenobi provided some good framework and companionship for Anakin, nothing makes you grow up faster than taking responsibility for another life. What separates a child from an adult is actually not age, but the ability to see the world from more than just your own point of view, to live for not just yourself, but for the life of another. In a way, it's an entire new chapter in one's life, full of meaning and reward that can't be found in more selfish pursuits. And this is why Ahsoka was created by George Lucas and Dave Filoni in the first place. She was a character that was designed to soften Anakin a little bit and help him grow as a human being. You see, Ahsoka was remarkably similar to Anakin in temperament. She was brash, fearless, and more than a little bit cocky.
You're stuck with me, Sky Guy.
What did you just call me? Don't get snippy with me, little one. You know, I don't even think you're old enough to be a Padawan.
Well, maybe I'm not, but Master Yoda thinks I am.
Sometimes it can be really hard to self-critique. That is what our ego is designed to do. It is to preserve our sense of self. But when we see our own flaws in others, that can be a great teaching moment. And Anakin and Ahsoka's similarities made this a beautiful relationship from the very beginning, even if Anakin does try his best to completely avoid it. I think a lot of fans hated Ahsoka Tano when they first saw her. I was definitely a bit annoyed by her as well. She was arrogant, whiny, entitled, and of course, a girl. Remember when this show came out more than a decade ago? I remember watching it on, was it Cartoon Network? I don't even remember, but I'm pretty sure most of the viewers were young boys. And a lot of them didn't want to see our awesome Jedi action hero Anakin Skywalker have to babysit a Jedi princess. But right away, Ahsoka Tano showed us that there was another reason why Yoda assigned her to Anakin. She was one of the few Jedi who could actually keep up with Anakin and in some cases even surpass him. You see, Ahsoka's combat abilities and strength in the Force was way beyond her years. She was a prodigy, just like Anakin.
I could use a little help!
Sky Guy, don't move!
What? No! Blasted Ahsoka, I told you to stay close to me.
I can't get much closer, Sky Guy.
You came here to die.
Stop!
That's 3 major saves that she makes, and that's only on her first mission. If there's anything Ahsoka Tano could do to win over Anakin, and also the Star Wars fans, it's by performing in situations like this. Ahsoka would also go up against the likes of Asajj, Ventress, and hold her own quite as well. She even manages to save Captain Rex from General Grievous, the cyborg menace, who has killed dozens of Jedi much older and experienced than her.
The Polynesian scar.
An astonishing feat for a mere padawan. Although Anakin Skywalker was now Ahsoka's master and the two would develop a very close connection, Ahsoka also had a very special connection to Master Plo Koon, as he was the Jedi Seeker who found her and brought her to the Order in the first place. And so when Master Plo Koon mysteriously vanished along with his Venator-class Star Destroyer and fleet in the early years of the Clone Wars, the young Padawan is eager to jump into action, letting her heart guide her instead of her brain.
You heard Master Plo. He needs our support. We have to go help him.
We have to see what the Council decides first.
This is typical Anakin Skywalker behavior, in case you haven't noticed.
I'm gonna go help them out.
He is the boy who fell to the dark side because he loved too hard and feared the loss of those he loved too much. And now he's forced to deal with a miniature version of himself. This is really cunning and evil from Yoda's standpoint. It's a brilliant move. The Jedi Council are aware that the Separatists have a secret superweapon lurking in deep space, ambushing Republic vessels. They're also aware that in previous incidents there have been no survivors, so a pragmatic decision must be made here.
All our battle groups will be reassigned to guard our supply convoys, including yours, Skywalker. I'm afraid we can't risk any more ships with a rescue mission.
Wait! Just because there haven't been any survivors before doesn't mean there won't be any this time.
The great thing about this scene is that Ahsoka's outburst actually forces Anakin to play the disciplinary role here.
Boldly spoken for one so young. She is learning from Anakin.
Excuse my Padawan. We will deploy as you have instructed, Master.
I mean, he sounds harsher to Ahsoka than Obi-Wan Kenobi was to him when he was a youngling.
Ahsoka!
If anyone could survive, Master Plo could. I don't understand why—
What you don't understand is Jedi protocol, or your place, my young Padawan.
But wait, guys, listen closely to his criticism. He tells Ahsoka to know her place and to learn the Jedi protocol. What he doesn't do is discourage her from wanting to look for survivors. Anakin and Ahsoka again share the same passion for heroics and saving innocent lives. You see, while most Jedi were forced to conform with the Jedi Code and learned how to be heroic, Anakin and Ahsoka are rare in that they were always naturally heroic. They never needed an ethics or philosophy class to explain to them what is right or wrong. An internal moral compass has always guided these individuals throughout their lives. They don't care if they aren't being practical or if they are facing immense odds. They will always fight to the very end, trying to save everyone. And so what Anakin is criticizing Ahsoka here for is not her willingness to help Plo Koon. He's criticizing her for her lack of tact.
Doing what the Jedi Council says, that's one thing. How we go about doing it, that's another. That's what I'm trying to teach you, my young Padawan.
So you always meant to come out here for survivors?
Lives are in danger, Ahsoka. We can't just turn our backs on them.
I don't know about you guys, I'd rather have Anakin and Ahsoka watching my back than 20 regular Jedi from the Order. The relationship between a Jedi Master and their Padawan is extremely unique and can differ from situation to situation. One of those differences is the age difference between the Master and the Padawan. Sometimes the age gap is quite close, and so you have a sibling-like relationship rather than a parent and child relationship. And Anakin and Ahsoka were kind of more like siblings. Being the elite warriors that they are, they occasionally would compete on the battlefield. It was a healthy sort of competition, one that pushed both individuals to higher levels of greatness and destruction.
Gotta keep up!
Hey, no fair!
But I think Ahsoka quickly began to realize something about Anakin that he could really never figure out himself. Anakin was an individual with great emotional depth and plenty of love and caring, but he was also an only child and a slave, and so he spent much of his childhood alone, playing with himself, tinkering with droids rather than playing with his friends. Not that he didn't have friends, but the life of a slave is difficult, and Anakin was a skilled mechanic and valuable to his owner only when he was working. Such a life creates a strong sense of individuality and self-reliance, something that would shape him into the man he would one day become. But individuals like this tend to forget how their actions affect others. Not because they choose to be selfish, but because they're so used to working by themselves, they're not really used to considering how other people feel. And what Anakin always forgets is that the clones, even his fellow Jedi who follow him into battle, they aren't as gifted and fearless as him. But the love he gives the soldiers, the fact that he leads from the front, it makes his men want to follow him even more into grave danger in situations where they might not be able to handle themselves. The confidence and boost in morale that Anakin gives to his men is completely real, but even he can't exchange or give his force powers to his clones to make them stronger. During the pursuit of the Malevolence, Anakin Skywalker leads a squadron of Y-Wing bombers. Their mission is to disable the giant ship's ion cannon. Ahsoka Tano is in the rear turret as the Y-Wings make their approach, and she witnesses the carnage unfold all around her as the Y-Wings are enveloped in point defense fire and pursued by enemy interceptors. The amount of debris and energy weapon fire is so thick that even Anakin is stretched to his limit. It's in moments like this when a commander is consumed in a life or death situation, when they're sucked in by their individual fight for survival, that they are no longer able to watch over the other men that they are leading. It's at this point the commander has completely failed to do their duties.
Master, you can make it, but everyone else is getting shot down. Master!
We've seen Anakin like this before. As a passionate individual, he can't help but draw from the dark side of the Force. You know that feeling of fire and strength we all get when we sense a danger or a threat? For certain types of people, especially those with past traumas or just individuals raised in a more violent and masculine world, we embrace this side of ourselves. It feels good to feel that strength and aggression and to let it flow outwards. But when we're placed in positions where we're in charge of other people's lives, that is not something you want to do. This can get people killed. This is a problem that Anakin Skywalker will have to deal with for the rest of his life, and I think Ahsoka, being so similar to him, made her one of the few people that could actually get Anakin to see this fault he had. And it's at this point we begin to see the true purpose of Ahsoka. She's not just there to help Anakin grow into a more wise adult, she's also there to protect him from his own dark side. Now, we've talked about how Anakin and Ahsoka are different from your average Jedi, but I don't think Ahsoka really understood how different she was until she actually ran into your typical Jedi Master in a life or death situation. And now it's easier to appear holier than thou and perfect in the safe confines of the Jedi Temple. But how one keeps their cool when blasters and Sith lightning are flowing overhead, well, it's in moments like that when we see our true selves revealed. Ahsoka is appointed to help transport the Separatist Viceroy and convicted terrorist Nute Gunray to Coruscant. She's accompanied by Jedi Master Luminara Unduli, a well-respected member of the Order and master practitioner of Form 3 lightsaber combat. When the Sith assassin Asajj Ventress boards their ship and attempts to free Gunray, it's Ahsoka who first confronts her.
Isn't the hairless harpy?
And she actually does a really good job holding her own against Asajj. When Master Luminara joins the fray, the two manage to drive Asajj back. Ahsoka is eager to give chase.
Stay here and guard him. I'll confront her myself.
Master, all due respect, but Ventress is too powerful for any one Jedi to fight alone. Let me help you.
Ahsoka actually has a lot of experience dueling Asajj. She's already faced her once in combat. But Luminara has other ideas.
I am more than capable of dealing with a lone assassin armed with undisciplined fighting skills.
But
stay here and keep a clear head.
I'm really not a huge fan of Master Luminara Unduli, especially after what she says during the Second Battle of Geonosis, and her arrogance in this case almost gets her killed. Asajj is not only a very disciplined lightsaber combatant, she's also an expert at Form 2 Mikasi, the dueling form, and one of the most effective forms against Luminara's own defensive shell style. I think Luminara's arrogance is really undeserving because she wasn't even able to figure that out about this Sith assassin who she thought was just, ill-disciplined. I mean, Asajj Ventress is not a tier 1 lightsaber fighter. I mean, that's like, there's only a few of those. It's like Mace Windu, Yoda, Darth Sidious, Anakin Skywalker, but she's in the tier right below. You do not want to mess around with Asajj Ventress. Plus, a person as rigid as Luminara is used to sparring other Jedi who clearly follow the rules, something Asajj clearly will not do. Luckily, Ahsoka, just like her master, would disobey Luminara's stupid orders and save the day. I think a lot of the early lessons that Ahsoka Tano learns are about how she as a Padawan can deal with the Jedi Order. I mean, yes, she should respect the Jedi Order and the experience a lot of the people in the High Council have, but maybe she shouldn't be blindly giving that respect and following without thinking. During the Battle of Quell, Anakin and Ahsoka are sent to relieve the forces of Ayala Secura. By the time they reach her Venator-class Star Destroyer, it's clear that the battle had been lost, and Ayala Secura's capital ship was already losing altitude and inside the planet's gravity well. While trying to extract from the ship, Anakin Skywalker stays behind and tries to prevent an explosion from overwhelming the small cruiser that is their getaway vehicle. Anakin is gravely injured and placed under medical observation. The public cruiser jumps to an unknown system and ends up crashing on the planet of Maradun. In the following days, Ahsoka and Ayala Secura must team up together and find a way to get off the planet. But Ahsoka must learn to push aside her worry for her master, who by this point she has also developed feelings for. Lucky for her, Ayala Secura is probably very well suited to teach Ahsoka what the difference between love, compassion, and attachment is.
I can still sense your worry for Anakin, your attachment to him.
It's just... I get so confused sometimes. It's forbidden for Jedi to form attachments, yet we are supposed to be compassionate.
Notice how gentle Ayala is to Ahsoka. She's nothing like Luminara. She's not judgmental. She's just there to be a friend and to give her some information and advice.
It is nothing to be ashamed of, Ahsoka. I went through the same process when I was your age with my own master.
And the lesson she tells Ahsoka comes from a deep understanding she's developed through her own similar struggles.
Really? You?
He was like a father to me. I realized that for the greater good, I had to let him go. Don't lose 1,000 lives just to save one.
Maybe. But that doesn't mean that I can't try to save his life.
See, love is about placing the needs of others before yourself. It's really not about your relationship to that person as much. That's something we often misunderstand. Attachment is the fear we experience when we imagine a world without those we love. It is inherently a selfish desire, an inability to let go, even if that is the best course for the person you love. Sometimes if you love someone but you're not the right person for them, maybe your lifestyle is too dangerous, too incompatible with their needs, you have to just be willing to walk away. Love is all about sacrifice. Now, in this case, on Maradun, Ahsoka's situation is a bit less dramatic. She simply needs to be okay with leaving Anakin by the shipwreck so that she can go off and find some more help. She's clearly more useful because of her force sensitivity when it comes to looking for help. It would just be a waste of her time for her to sit there watching over her unconscious master. Now, we can't blame Ahsoka for feeling this way. She is young. She's been thrown into such a difficult situation. She's faced so much death and destruction as well. Anakin's biggest appeal has always been his confidence, which he freely lends to others so that they might be as strong as he is. His presence is severely missed by his padawan. But Ahsoka must learn this important lesson so that she can act with love and not attachment later on in her journey when Anakin turns into something completely different. The next time we meet Ahsoka Tano, she's on Naboo, and she's responding to the disappearance of Naboo's senator, Padme Amidala. The senator had been investigating a mysterious viral outbreak that had been killing entire herds of Gungan stock. She accidentally stumbles upon a secret separatist bioweapons laboratory buried beneath the surface of Naboo. It is the source of the outbreak. You see, Dr. Nuvo Vindi was trying to weaponize the Blue Shadow virus, a deadly disease that is dangerous to the majority of the sentient beings in the galaxy. Ahsoka and her forces managed to neutralize the Doctor, but not before one of his servant drones detonates a blue virus bomb inside of the facility, infecting everyone inside, including Padme and Ahsoka. It's in this moment that Ahsoka Tano would face one of her greatest challenges, a threat that she really has no answer to. Even her powerful force abilities can only hold back the virus for so long. And so, at the young age of 14, Ahsoka confronts the prospect of death's cold, hard embrace. If you've ever had a near-death experience, in a funny way, it can be liberating. It's moments like this in which we meet our true selves, not the individual that society has forced us to become. Our mind wanders to the things that are truly important to us, to the friends and family we have to leave behind. There's also a sense of peace that one can find when they finally accept death. It can be the ultimate reset. That is, if, you don't die. Luckily for Ahsoka, her master Anakin will do anything to protect her, and he does manage to find a cure. And so Ahsoka can continue to enjoy this clarity of mind that she experienced right before she thought she was going to die. While some fans loved Ahsoka from the very beginning, others had to be won over gradually. For me, I started appreciating Ahsoka after watching her deal with failure and learn from her mistakes. During the Battle of Ryloth, Ahsoka Tano is a part of a rebel fleet which aims to break through the blockade around the planet. For some reason, Anakin thought it'd be a good idea to place his padawan in charge of a good portion of the Republic starfighters in this battle. Excelling as an individual fighter on the battlefield does not prepare you for leadership. These are two different skill sets. While Ahsoka and Blue's squadron start an attack run on the enemy fleet, the Separatists called in reinforcements and launched a counterattack. Admiral Wolf Yularen tries to pull Ahsoka and her fighters back to cover their capital ships, but Ahsoka refuses to follow orders. Like Anakin, she's focused on the prize and victory, and as a result, she completely misses the Separatist trap, and her entire fighter squadron is taken out, and Wolf Yularen gets injured when a droid fighter crashes through the bridge. I honestly blame Anakin Skywalker for this situation. I also blame the Jedi Order. I mean, placing a 14-year-old on the battlefield is a war crime. Having her command a bunch of clones who technically are also children in a cruel and vicious war against killer robots, well, I guess that's why we love the prequel so much, right? Ahsoka feels terrible for what she's done, but I think her presence is already stirring some parental instincts in Anakin, who immediately takes her to the side. He disciplines her and explains to her that the chain of command is really important because as an individual, she can only see a small portion of the battlefield and the overall grand strategy. But then immediately after, Anakin provides Ahsoka with words he's probably always wanted to hear himself when he was a kid.
But I failed.
It was a trap, Snips. It wasn't your fault.
I lost so many of my pilots.
Take heart, little one. That's the reality of command.
And soon after, Anakin, being Anakin, doubles down by carrying out an even more audacious plan to take out the enemy blockade. He used the flag of truce to get a Ventress-class Star Destroyer close enough to the enemy blockade and ram the Seppi command ship. Probably another war crime. But more importantly, Anakin puts Ahsoka in command once again, and she'll be in charge of launching an offensive that takes advantage of the Separatist confusion. This is an important move. By putting Ahsoka Tano back in the command seat and then putting his own life in her hands, it's designed to show her that Anakin trusts her. It gives Ahsoka a chance to also make up for her previous mistake. It's a chance that not many of us get in life, and Ahsoka, well, she makes the most out of it. So there you have it, guys. That is the end of the first part of Ahsoka's series. If you guys really enjoyed this video, I know it's a little longer, but I kind of want to delve back into the rest of the Clone Wars, Rebels, and The Mandalorian and tell you guys the entire story of Ahsoka, hopefully in time for the Ahsoka series, which will start at the end of summer. I think it'll be helpful for me, too, to kind of just refresh my knowledge. It'll be nice if we could do it together.